Rome was never supposed to make it this far. Not from this. Picture it. Muddy riverbanks, scattered huts, no walls, no power, no future in sight. Just a rough patch of land along the Tiber River, where a few farmers, traders, and fighters were barely getting by in a world that didn't care if they lived or died. No marble, no armies, no empire, nothing special. But here's where things take a turn. Rome didn't just survive, it took over the world. And the story, it starts with blood. 753 BC, two brothers Romulus and Remus, raised by a wolf if you believe the legend. Sounds crazy, but that's Rome. Myth and reality always blurred. The two clash over power, pride, control. And then Romulus kills Remus. Just like that, Rome is born. Violence isn't a chapter in Rome's story. It's the foundation. Now fast forward. Early Rome is ruled by kings, not emperors, not yet. And these kings, some decent, others a complete disaster. Then comes the last one, Tarquin the Proud. And yeah, the name fits, corrupt, arrogant, abusive, the kind of ruler who thinks power is untouchable. But Rome doesn't do untouchable. The people hit their limit. 509 BC, boom. The monarchy is gone just like that. No king, no crown. Now we enter something new, the Roman Republic. And this is where the real game begins. Power shifts, but not equally. You've got elected officials now, senators, consuls, all the machinery of what looks like a republic. But don't get it twisted, this isn't freedom for everyone. The elite, the patricians, they still run the show. Meanwhile, the plebeians, regular people, they've got to fight for every single right they get. And they do fight, relentlessly. Protests, political pressure, social tension. But instead of breaking Rome, it sharpens it, hardens it. While other civilizations are comfortable, Rome is grinding. Constantly, war after war, territory after territory. First, they lock down Italy. Then comes the moment that changes everything. The Punic Wars. Now this is where Rome proves it's built different. They go up against Carthage, an empire just as powerful, just as hungry, and leading them, Hannibal, a military genius. This guy pulls off one of the craziest moves in history. He marches an army with elephants over the Alps, through freezing mountains where armies weren't supposed to survive, and then he hits Rome hard. I'm talking devastating losses, again and again. At this point, most nations would have collapsed. Rome doesn't. Rome adapts, learns, endures, and then it hits back. Hard. Enter Scipio Africanus. He flips the entire strategy, takes the war straight to Carthage's doorstep in North Africa. And that's it. Game over. By 146 BC, Carthage is erased, wiped off the map. And Rome now controls the Mediterranean. At this point, it looks unstoppable. But here's the part nobody sees coming. Victory starts to rot the system from the inside. Wealth pours in, power explodes, and suddenly the gap between rich and poor gets out of control. Corruption spreads like wildfire. Politicians stop serving Rome and start serving themselves. Sound familiar, but it gets worse, because now something shifts. Roman soldiers aren't loyal to the Republic anymore. They're loyal to their generals, and that changes everything. Because now, the man with the army is the man with the power. And that man is Julius Caesar. Brilliant, charismatic, dangerous. He conquers Gaul, modern-day France, and becomes insanely popular. Not just respected, loved. And the Senate, they see what's coming. They order him to step down, give up his command, return as a normal citizen. But Caesar, he's not built for normal. He stands at the edge of a small river, the Rubicon. And in that moment, everything hangs in the balance. Then he crosses it with his army. No hesitation, no turning back. Civil war explodes across Rome. And when it's all over, there's only one man left standing. Julius Caesar, the Republic. It's done. Rome is no longer what it used to be. Now it's something far more powerful, far more dangerous. An empire in everything but name. And the craziest part, this is just the beginning. Caesar doesn't just win, he takes over the entire board. By 46 BC, he's been declared dictator for life. Think about that for a second. This is Rome, the same system built from the ground up to never allow kings again. And now, one man holds absolute power. No term limits, no real opposition, no exit plan. On the surface, it looks like progress. Caesar reforms the calendar, giving Rome the structure of time itself. He tackles debt, expands the Senate, pushes massive political changes that honestly look smart on paper. Efficient, visionary, necessary. But beneath all of that, tension is building because Rome has a long memory. And every Roman knows one thing: power like this always comes with a price. Behind closed doors, whispers start spreading. Then fear. Then something more dangerous, a decision. A group of senators comes to a conclusion. They're not watching Rome fall back into monarchy. Not again. So they make a move. March 15th, 44 BC. The Ides of March. Caesar walks into the Senate like any other day. No armor, no guards, no sign that anything's about to go wrong. And then it happens. Blades flash, 23 times fast, brutal, public. A man who conquered nations cut down by his own allies, right there on the Senate floor. It's shocking, it's violent, it's final. But here's where everything flips. Killing Caesar doesn't save the Republic, it kills it. Because the moment he drops, Rome loses control. No clear leader, no stability, just a massive power vacuum. And nature hates a vacuum, so what fills it? Chaos. Civil war erupts again, alliances shift overnight. Loyalty means nothing, survival means everything. And out of that storm, three men rise: Octavian, young, quiet, calculated. Caesar's adopted son and way more dangerous than he looks. Mark Antony, a battle-hardened general, charismatic, powerful, a man who knows how to command both armies and attention. And Lepidus, not the flashiest player but still part of the equation. Together they form the second triumvirate. On paper, it looks like control. In reality, it's temporary. They track down Caesar's assassins, Brutus, Cassius, and eliminate them. Clean, efficient, no loose ends. Mission accomplished. But here's the problem: once the common enemy is gone, there's nothing holding them together. Now it's personal. Octavian and Antony start watching each other closely, not as allies but as threats. And then everything changes, because a new player enters the scene. Cleopatra, Queen of Egypt, smart, strategic, magnetic. She doesn't just enter the game, she reshapes it. She aligns with Antony, and together they start building serious power in the East. Wealth, influence, military strength, it's all stacking up. But back in Rome, this doesn't look like a partnership. It looks like betrayal. And Octavian, he sees an opportunity. He doesn't just fight Antony, he rewrites the story. He paints him as weak, manipulated, a Roman general under the control of a foreign queen, a threat to everything Rome stands for. And the people, they buy it completely. Now the stage is set. 31 BC, the Battle of Actium. This isn't just another fight, this decides everything. One side walks away with Rome, the other disappears. Naval fleets collide, chaos on the water. Strategy pressure, no room for mistakes. And in the end, Octavian wins, decisively. Antony and Cleopatra retreat to Egypt, but they already know it's over. No comeback, no second act, so they choose their ending. Both take their own lives. Just like that, the last real challenge to power is gone. Octavian stands alone. But here's where he proves he's different. He doesn't make the same mistake Caesar did. No crown, no title of king, no obvious power grab. Instead, he plays it perfectly. 27 BC, he takes on a new name, Augustus. The first citizen. Sounds humble, almost harmless. But don't get it twisted. This is control at a whole different level. Because this is the birth of the Roman Empire, and Augustus is its first emperor. What follows is something Rome has never seen before: the Pax Romana. 2 centuries of stability, expansion, growth on a massive scale. Roads stretch across continents, trade explodes, cities rise, culture evolves. Rome isn't just dominating anymore, it's defining what civilization looks like. But here's the truth no empire can escape. The higher you climb, the harder you fall. And even at its peak, Rome is already carrying the cracks that will one day break it. Under Augustus, Rome isn't just stable, it's thriving. For the first time in generations, there's order, confidence, momentum. The chaos is gone, and in its place, a machine that actually works. But here's the thing about Rome: stability like this doesn't last forever. Because once Augustus is gone, everything starts to get unpredictable. Some emperors step up, sharp, disciplined, focused on keeping Rome running like a well-oiled system. And others completely lose the plot. Take Caligula. At first, he looks promising. Young, energetic, the kind of leader people can get behind. But then something snaps. He starts claiming he's a god, burns through insane amounts of wealth like it means nothing. And yeah, this isn't a joke. He reportedly plans to make his horse a consul. Let that sink in. Rome goes from structured dominance to straight chaos, almost overnight. And just when you think it can't get more unhinged, enter Nero. Now this guy, he's on a different level, obsessed with fame, performance, his image. He doesn't just want to rule Rome, he wants to be seen ruling it, applauded for it. And then disaster hits. 64 AD, the Great Fire of Rome. Flames tear through the city, destroying massive sections. Panic everywhere, people losing everything. And Nero, instead of stepping up like a leader, he shifts the blame. Targets Christians, turns a tragedy into a political shield. It's not leadership, it's survival mode with an ego attached. But here's what makes Rome different: it doesn't collapse, it absorbs the chaos. And then it resets. After a brutal power struggle, the year of the 4 emperors, Rome finally stabilizes under a new leader. Vespasian, no nonsense, no theatrics. He rebuilds the economy, restores order, brings discipline back into the system. And then he builds something that sends a message to the entire empire. The Colosseum. This isn't just architecture, this is power. Massive crowds, roaring energy, gladiators fighting to the death, wild animals unleashed for spectacle. Rome turns violence into entertainment. And the people, they can't get enough. It's distraction, control, culture, all in one. Then comes a stretch that historians still look at like, this was Rome at its absolute best. The 5 good emperors. This is peak Rome. Expansion, stability, smart leadership. No drama, just results. Trajan takes the empire to its largest size in history, from Britain all the way to the Middle East. It's massive, almost too massive. And that's where Hadrian steps in. He looks at the map and makes a call most rulers wouldn't. We've gone far enough. Instead of pushing outward, he locks things down, builds defenses, fortifies borders. Projects like Hadrian's Wall in Britain, designed not to expand Rome but to protect it. It's a shift in mindset, from conquest to control. And then Marcus Aurelius, a rare kind of leader, philosopher, warrior, thinker, a man trying to hold everything together while the pressure starts building from every direction. Plagues sweep through the population. Wars intensify along the borders. The cracks, they're starting to show, but he holds it together, barely. And when he dies, that balance, it shatters because his son takes over, Commodus. And he's not built for this at all. He treats Rome like a stage, a personal playground, fights as a gladiator, not out of duty but for attention. Meanwhile, leadership takes a backseat. And just like that, instability creeps back in. But this time, it doesn't go away, because now the cracks aren't hidden anymore. They're visible, and they're spreading. The next century, it's rough. Emperors rise fast and fall faster. Power struggles become the norm. Armies start choosing leaders based on loyalty, not competence. And that's a dangerous shift. The economy starts slipping. Inflation hits hard. Trade weakens. And outside the empire, enemies are watching, waiting. Germanic tribes push in from the north. The Persian Empire presses from the east. Rome is stretched thin, trying to defend everything at the same time. So a new solution emerges, a drastic one. Emperor Diocletian steps in and makes a call that changes everything. One ruler isn't enough, so he splits the empire, east and west. On paper, it's smart, more control, faster decisions, better management. But in reality, it changes the game completely. Because now, Rome isn't one unstoppable force anymore. It's two halves slowly pulling apart. And once that divide begins, there's no going back. The split changes everything. Because from this point on, Rome isn't one empire anymore. It's two completely different stories. In the West, centered in Rome, the decline starts creeping in. Leadership gets weaker, resources get stretched thin, and the pressure from the outside, it never lets up. Not for a second, but in the East, it's a whole different situation. Stronger economy, better defenses, more control, and a new capital rising fast, Constantinople. And at the center of it all, one man, Constantine the Great. This isn't just another emperor. This is a game changer. Because Constantine doesn't just rule Rome, he redefines it. He does something no one saw coming. He embraces Christianity. A religion Rome once hunted down now becomes part of its foundation. Through the Edict of Milan, Christianity is legalized. No more persecution, no more hiding. Now faith and power start merging. Politics, religion, authority, all blending into something entirely new. And then there's Constantinople, strategic, wealthy, nearly impossible to conquer. It's not just a new capital, it's the future of Rome. While the East is evolving, the West is unraveling. At first it's subtle, then it's obvious, and then it's unstoppable. Corruption spreads deeper. The military loses its edge. Loyalty fades. Systems stop working the way they used to, and outside the borders, the pressure turns into impact, wave after wave. The Visigoths, the Vandals, the Huns, these aren't just attacks anymore. This is migration, invasion, replacement. And then the moment that shocks the world, 410 AD, Rome gets sacked. The Visigoths break through the gates. For the first time in nearly 800 years, the city that defined power falls. And the damage, it's not just physical, it's psychological, because if Rome can fall, anything can. And it doesn't end there. 451 AD, a new threat pushes deep into Roman territory. Attila the Hun, the scourge of God, a name that carries fear across continents. Cities fall before him. Entire regions collapse. Rome survives, but just barely. At this point, the empire isn't fighting to win anymore. It's fighting to breathe. And then 476 AD. No grand finale. No last heroic stand. Just an ending. A Germanic leader, Odoacer, steps in and removes the last Western Roman emperor, Romulus Augustulus. And just like that, it's over. The Western Roman Empire is gone, quietly, completely. But here's the twist most people miss. Rome doesn't actually die. Because in the East, it keeps going for another 1,000 years. What we now call the Byzantine Empire carries Rome forward, its laws, its culture, its influence, long after the West has fallen. And even beyond that, Rome still isn't finished. Because its ideas, they never disappeared, they spread into Europe, into the foundations of modern nations, into systems that still shape the world today. Government, law, military strategy, engineering, you see Rome everywhere, in buildings, in politics, in the structure of power itself. Because Rome was never just an empire. It was a blueprint, a rise driven by ambition, a peak built on discipline, and a fall caused by its own weight. From a muddy riverbank to ruling the known world, to collapsing under the pressure of its own success. Rome didn't just exist, it defined what power looks like. And even now, we're still living in its shadow. So yeah, that's the story of Rome. But if you really step back for a second, if you zoom out past the battles, the emperors, the drama, Rome isn't just history. It's a pattern, a cycle, one that keeps showing up again and again and again. Think about how it starts. Rome comes from nothing. No built-in advantage, no safety net, no guarantee it even survives, just grit, discipline, and a mindset that refuses to quit no matter the odds. It builds systems, laws, armies, not just to win fights, but to control the future. That's phase one, the rise, and then momentum kicks in. Rome doesn't just compete anymore, it dominates. It absorbs everything: cultures, technologies, ideas. It learns fast, adapts even faster, and before anyone can react, it becomes untouchable. The standard, the name that carries weight across the world, feared, respected, sometimes both. That's phase 2, the peak. But here's where the shift happens, because success, it changes everything. Wealth starts pouring in, power starts concentrating, and the same hunger that built Rome from the ground up, it starts to fade. Leaders stop thinking long-term. Politics turns into a game. And loyalty, it stops being about the state and starts being about individuals. That's phase 3, the decline. And here's the scary part: it doesn't look like collapse. Not at first. It's quiet, subtle, a slow bleed, a little more corruption here, a little more instability there, pressure building on the edges, cracks forming under the surface. And instead of fixing what's broken at the core, Rome keeps patching the surface, over and over and over again, until one day it just can't anymore. And then collapse, but not the kind you'd expect. No single explosion, no dramatic final moment, just a system that finally gives out after being stretched too far for too long. And that's the part most people miss. Rome didn't fall because it was weak. It fell because it became too big, too complex, too divided to hold itself together. And honestly, that's what makes this story hit different, because it doesn't feel ancient, it feels familiar. Empires rise, systems expand, power shifts, and history, it doesn't repeat perfectly, but it rhymes close enough to make you uncomfortable. So when you look at Rome, you're not just looking at the past, you're looking at a mirror of ambition, of power, of what happens when control starts slipping just a little too much. And maybe that's why Rome still matters. Not because of what it was, but because of what it shows us. About power, about systems, about ourselves. And the real question is, if history really does follow patterns, then where are we right now?